All right. Well, good evening and welcome to the District 7 Charter meeting. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes about what's going on with COVID. And then, if you haven't watched one of these before, we feature one of our department heads talking about what they are doing. And it's been, I think, a pretty impressive group today. You get to hear Gary Brown and the rebuilding of the Detroit Water and Sewage Department. And then after that, we will take questions until 8:30, and we'll have a process for you to call in and get those. I'm just talk about COVID for a couple minutes. You saw the governor today made announcements about opening up, and I know this is going to sound confusing, and it's still going to be confusing for another week. So it's a little technical, but the Supreme Court a few months back struck down the governor's ability to just regulate this. And so half of the regulations come out of the health department, half the regulations come out of a department called MIOSHA that regulates work sites. And so the half that came out of the health department is out. Next week, the office guidelines are going to come out. When all of those are together, we're going to have a clear explanation to everybody in this city on exactly what you can expect and how it should go. But here are the things that I know. One is we have this month already, 80 residents of this city have died of COVID. That's in the month of May. We're going to lose 100 in May. We lost 100 of our neighbors in April. And these are unnecessary deaths. The best of our records, not one of them who died was fully vaccinated. And of course, the vaccines have been readily available in this city. And we had a number who were in their 20s and 30s who passed away this month. And so I would just encourage our residents, pretty much everybody who's coming in at this point is being encouraged to come in by a relative or a friend. That's what's happening right now. Friends and family are convincing people to come in. You can get the $50 gift card if you drive them in, but please talk to your friends and your relatives. What I expect is going to happen is this, that probably at City Hall and probably most other employers, sometime in the coming weeks, the offices are going to reopen. And I don't think anybody's going to require a vaccine to come to work. Certainly the city of Detroit is not going to require you to get vaccinated. We're still in emergency use approval from the FDA. But we are going to indicate you're going to have to come back to work and either get vaccinated or wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth. Either one's going to be acceptable. And of course, vaccinated people are entirely welcome to continue to wear masks even after. But at least for City of Detroit employees, we'll have a record of everybody, if you've been vaccinated or not. If you haven't been vaccinated, you'll get tested every week or two with the Abbott tests. You'll wear your mask on the work site, which pretty much people have been doing anyway, but you can either protect yourself or you're going to have to wear the mask to protect others. My guess is that's what most employers are going to do. I think that's what you're going to see the stores continue to do, is the same kind of rule. If you've been vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. If you haven't been vaccinated, you do have to protect others because this disease is still going to spread. So sometime next week we will give you a full briefing on that. And with that, I wanted to get a chance to hear from the person who I think has done a remarkable job of improving the quality of service from the Detroit Water and Sewage Department. I don't think I've had a department where the number of complaints has dropped more dramatically in the last 7 years than this department. So Gary Brown, come on up and talk about what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all the kind words. On my way driving here tonight, my 12-year-old granddaughter texted me, and of course, I don't text and drive. So when I got to the parking lot, I looked at the text and it said, "I got vaccinated," and I'm like, I could almost see the smile on her face. Unfortunately, the story is a little bit different. 2 weeks ago, I had to report to my board of directors that I had 50 employees that either had COVID or had family members that had COVID, and that they were not on work sites because of that. Yesterday, 2 weeks later, I reported that there were 25. And that means 25 came back to work. but one of them didn't. He died. And so we're praying for his family, as well as the workers that work with him. He was not only a great employee, but just a great human being. So, I'm imploring you, please, if you haven't been vaccinated, our health director has done everything possible to make it easy for you to get the shot. It's free. They help you with transportation. There are really no more excuses. If you feel that you are invincible, then do it for someone else in your family that is not as strong as you. But let's all get vaccinated. All right, some good news. The Water Quality Report. This is an annual report. The 2020 report shows Detroit drinking water continues to meet or exceed state and federal regulations. Lead testing results are 9 parts per billion, well below the state, as well as federal regulations of 15 parts per billion. I want to encourage everyone to go to our website at detroitmich.gov/2020 Water Quality Report. It's more than just a quality report. It's also a reference guide to services that DWSD has available. And as I tell everybody that works for me, my staff, if we don't get it right with the quality of water, there's nothing that I'm going to talk about tonight with regards to rebuilding the infrastructure is going to matter. And so I want everybody to be assured that we have the best quality water in the country, and that report will tell you why. So if you get a chance, please go to the website and take a look. It'll be available on June 1st. Customer Affordability Program. Water Residential Affordability Program, better known as WRAP. Eligible households at or below 200% of federal poverty level, and that's a family of 4 that makes $52,400 is eligible. Plumbing repairs average $1,500 per household. Tenants now are eligible for minor home plumbing repairs, up to $1,000 in annual monthly bill and arrear credits are available in the program. We have a two-year program for most households. However, seniors, veterans, and persons with disabilities receive $25 a month bill credit indefinitely. More than 20,000 households have benefited since March 2016. The annual allocation of $6.5 million for that program a year. Detroit gets about $3 million of that. However, when Oakland and Macomb County don't use their allotment, they, every year for the last 4 years, have shifted the dollars to the city of Detroit because they know how well the money is being used. We expect to get about $1 million by June 1st from Oakland and Macomb County out of their allotment. And so, I tell people this is the most comprehensive, generous program in America, in any utility, whether it's gas, lights, or water. Where can you go? And I ask you, go on the internet and look at some of the other cities. Where can you find a utility that will come into a customer's home with a plumber, do an audit of the plumbing system, spend up to $1,500 to fix the repairs, give the customer $25 a month on their bill after we've made all of the repairs and got them to an average bill, spend up to $1,000 to take care of the arrears on the bill. That's not an assistance program, that's an affordability program. And so if you know of any Detroiter in the city of Detroit that is living in a house with a family or by themselves and they do not have water, we want to know about that immediately because we want to get that water on tomorrow. They simply have to call 313-386-9727 to get the assistance. It's available. Let's talk about some of the enhancements to the system. Water system assessments in 39 neighborhoods. One of the most frequent questions that I'm asked is how do you decide out of the 3,000 miles of water mains and 2,700 miles of sewers, how are you going to decide where you're going to go, what neighborhood you're going to go and work in? And this is how we do it. Maintenance inspections and data collections are going on right now in 39 neighborhoods this spring and summer across the city to determine future upgrades and immediate repairs needed. DWSD does water main leak detections and hydrant flushings. We determine what needs to be repaired or replaced. Not all water mains will need to be replaced. Leaks will be recorded for DWSD to investigate in the future. Residents receive door hanger notifications and other communications beforehand. If you want to look at the locations that we're working at in your neighborhood, you simply have to go to DWSD's website at detroitmich.gov/water upgrades. And there will be a list of locations that we're currently working on in both water and sewer. DWSD Capital Improvement Program. This is a $500 million program to improve the system. DWSD has already invested $240 million in capital improvement projects. In 2019 through 2020, we replaced 66 miles of water mains and 1,155 lead service lines. We replaced or lined 50 miles of sewer pipes, and we installed 11 bioretention gardens. Water and sewer upgrades for this year and next year. In the next 2 years, DWSD will invest an additional $204 million by replacing 50 miles of water mains, replacing 1,500 lead service lines, line or replace 37 miles of sewer pipes, and you can also see that list of work at detroitmich.gov/either water upgrades or sewer upgrades. And you can see the list in your neighborhood of locations that we're working in. And there's also extensive outreach prior to doing the construction so that the community understands exactly what's going to take place. The Oakman Boulevard Stormwater project is complete, and there's been some recent publicity about this particular project. This is a project, the one thing that I remember about it is my good friend Benny Napoleon lived in this particular neighborhood, and he's got my cell number. We also have one of our Wayne County commissioners. I won't give her name, but if you live in that neighborhood, you know who she is, and she has my cell number. There's a former police assistant chief or deputy chief, Robert Dunlap. He's got my number, and when things don't go right, I'm telling you that Wayne County commissioner, she wears out my line. And so this community has been very, very involved in the building and the design and building of this particular water feature. Complete massive stormwater project on Oakman transformed 10 medians to bioretention in 2020. We spent $8.6 million on the project, including water main replacement and lead service line verification. Outreach with residents began way back in 2016. Residents helped design, this project manages 37 million gallons of stormwater annually. Now what does that mean? That means that when it rains, we're not putting that stormwater, we're not mixing it with sewage, we're not using electricity to pump it to the treatment plant, we're not using chemicals to clean it, and it's just a more effective, environmentally friendly, and efficient way to take care of stormwater, and it's the thing of the future. The Far West Detroit Neighborhood and Stormwater Improvement Project. This is going to be the largest project that DWSD has ever done of this kind. Not just in the last 6 or 8 years, but ever. It's going to be a $38 million project that's going to go over a 5-year period of time. It's going to have drainage improvements. We're going to do 25,000 feet of new drain piping. We're going to do 2 water quality basins. More than 1,000 residential downspouts will be disconnected. Water main improvements, 15,000 feet of trenchless water main replacement, 500 plus water service replacements. Those are lead service lines. And I've committed that we're going to replace every service line in that 1,200 home community that has a lead service line. It will be replaced in this project. Sewer rehabilitation, we're going to do 20,000 feet of sewer lining and repair up to 100 manholes and catch basins. The project's already been bidded out. We're going to award the contract shortly. And then the next phase is we're going to take that contractor into the community so that the contractor understands what the community's expectations are. We've learned so much from pilot programs that we've run where the biggest complaint that I got was the project, a street was opened up to put a water main in it, and it wasn't closed back up at the end of the season. So residents over the winter had to live with gravel and dirt and mud and all the things that go with that. In this particular contract, if you open up a street, by the end of the season, that street has to be asphalted back at the contractor's cost if they can't finish the project. And so all the lessons that I've learned are being implemented for this particular project. We've learned about noise in the community. We've learned about dirt and dust in the community. And so we're going to address those issues in the contract with the contractor, and we're going to take the contractor in front of the community so that they understand what's expected. So this project should start in the fall of 2021, this year. The Far West South Basin retentions. This is what some of the plantings are going to look like. You can see 2 retention ponds. The community was extremely involved in identifying what material they wanted and how they wanted this project designed. They had been cutting the grass in an area to have picnics, and we put in a pavilion for a picnic session, which is in G and H of this particular diagram. But they were involved with this project every step of the way. This is a picture of what it looks like today. This is a rendering of what we expect it to look like when we're done. This is the rouge portion of the project. There's also a large portion that goes into the neighborhood where we're going to be replacing water mains, sewers, lead service lines, and we're going to be disconnecting stormwater from the sewer system. $38 million project. This is just a picture of the Far West Rouge Park. When we're done, it's going to have a mowed pathway to the east. On the south basin near Outer Drive, you can see one of the 3 basins that's been installed, as well as a walking path. And I'd be remiss if I just didn't thank so many people that were involved in building out this project. Many of you know Arthur Edge. He's the Neighborhood Association president in that particular area. He was invaluable in getting the right people to the table to make sure that we were doing what the community wanted. Of course, the Friends of Rouge, GSD. We had a lot of spirited, Brad's not here, but a lot of spirited discussion about the direction of this particular project, which is why it came out so well. Huron Clinton Metro Parks got involved. Wayne County Public Services got involved. But the most important thing, we got Oakland County to pay for the complete project at $38 million. And so DWSD had some extra capacity in some sewer lines. We allowed them to put some of their flow in their lines in exchange for paying for this $38 million project. So that's good news because our ratepayers won't be affected by this enormous project. And then finally, the biggest complaint that I hear in the community is really, and we hear them at this meeting often the last 6 weeks, is sinkholes in alleys, sinkholes in backyards, and the like. And so this is a typical home in the city of Detroit. Most of our homes were built prior to 1950. That means that they're at least 70 years old. And the sewer lines and water mains that were installed when the foundations after these houses were put in and the houses were built, the lines have outlived their useful life. It's about 50 years. And if you haven't maintained the line by cleaning it once a year, no more than every 2 years, they're failing. And so the private sewer line on the left runs out of your house, under your basement, and it connects to DWSD's sewer in the alley. If that line breaks at any point, it's the homeowner's responsibility or the property owner's responsibility. Typically, the main that's in the alley, the sewer line from the home joins the line in the alley, and it drops down halfway. And so half of the flow is going into the pipe, and the other half is going into the ground, and that fluid is pulling the soil and creating a sinkhole. And eventually, that basement's going to back up, and that line has failed. 98% of the claims that we get, we're able to camera the system and categorically show that it's the property owner's responsibility. And that could be as much as $10,000 to repair. And so we have an RFP, a request for proposal, out on the street, and we're going to be asking for insurance companies to apply, and we're going to be offering customers that want to take advantage of the option for a small fee to have an insurance policy that will pay for that line. Secondly, I'm going to have the minor home repair definition that Wayne Metro uses expanded to include private service lines. So those customers that are part of the RAP program, that are 200% below the level of poverty, will be able to use those dollars to make sure that those lines can get fixed. It's a serious problem. The other line on the right is the water line that's normally coming in from in front of the house in the street. The first half of the line that's coming from the water main is DWSD's responsibility. It connects to a stop box right at the property line, right in your lawn. And then that line continues under your basement floor into your house and connects to a meter. That's the property owner's responsibility. If that line happens to be lead, DWSD will replace it at our cost, the complete line. If the line is copper, it is the homeowner's responsibility from the house to the stop box. We get that. We don't get that as often as we get the lateral sewer lines, but I wanted to take the opportunity to explain it. Again, it's explained thoroughly in our quality report that's on our website by June 1st, and I thank you for the time and the attention, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Gary, and that gives you a good sense of how the program works overall, and the customer service folks will help you with your individual situation. So now we're going to take questions. I'd ask neighbors to be respectful and allow the District 7 residents to get the calls in first. This is their night. They've got lots of questions about their neighborhoods. And so we'd ask you to please be respectful, let them go first. If you're on a computer, use your raised hand icon. If you're on a phone, you can press *9. Please tell us your name and what neighborhood you live in, and then ask your question succinctly. You'll get muted after 60 seconds, so I want to make sure I hear the question. We got to have time for everybody to be able to raise their issues. And so with that, let's take our first question.
First caller we have is Deanna MacB. Deanna MacB, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, Mayor Duggan.
Good evening.
I would first of all like to give you your proper RESPECT.
Okay.
I have had an issue with the property for 6 going on 7 years. with no response, no cooperation. I called you on last Thursday, and praise God, there has been progress already that I can actually see, and I am looking forward to cleaning up my block and occupying this property and getting it together. And I thank you so much, and you have my full support.
You know, when I heard your voice, I am so glad to hear that you're happy, because I knew you were going to either be really happy or really mad. Who from the city helped you?
Saskia
Saskia Thompson?
and Ray.
Okay, and Ray Solomon.
Yes.
All right. So a big day for the Land Bank and the Department of Neighborhoods. Thank you for calling back.
Yes,
Nobody ever calls
indeed.
back when they're happy.
Yes, indeed. And I tried to call them both and just got answer machines, so I hope they got my message.
Well, they're sitting right here smiling through their masks, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I know it takes time, and I'm a little more patient now.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Next caller we have is Marilyn W. Marilyn W., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Marilyn, you with us?
I'm here. I'm unmuted now.
We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Well, I want to say first, thanks to the mayor and to Neighborhood Services for all that you guys are trying to do to support us. And we were very happy with the response we received last week. But my question tonight is a vaccination question. The health department today was not able to help me. The young man the gentleman who helps me with my lawn, he wants to get vaccinated. He's not homeless, but he's a drifter. So the only thing that he have in his possession is his SSI paperwork. He doesn't have a utility bill or anything like that. So the gentleman that I spoke with today, he said that that will not work. And he tried to get a supervisor on the line, but they never came on. This gentleman wants to get vaccinated.
So Marilyn, I'm going to put the supervisor's supervisor on the line with you right now. Denise, you can believe that Marilyn Winfrey is telling you the truth. So come on up and tell her how her friend is going to get vaccinated.
Well, hello, Marilyn. Thank you so much for letting us know. We want to get your friend vaccinated. All you have to do is, if you leave your information below, we will give you a call. In fact, I will give you a call personally tomorrow to make sure you or your friend gets the vaccine, okay?
I have been fully vaccinated, and Mona has all the information she needs on me, so she'll give it to you, okay?
Well, great. So I'll get with Mona and we'll give you a call tomorrow.
Thank you so very much,
Great.
because we need it. I want to work in comfort this summer, and that may be a problem in Detroit for both of you to know. There may be a lot of people out there who don't have ID. They don't stay any place long enough to get a utility bill or anything like that. So Mayor Duggan, you and Ms. Fair work it out, okay?
We will, and if you bring your friend with you, you can pick up your $50 gift card while you're there, and the two of you can go out to lunch.
Okay, make sure everybody knows that when I get there now.
All right. Denise is going to take
you
care
so
of you.
very
All right. All right. Who's next?
Marilyn, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Cynthia L. Cynthia, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening. Cynthia, you with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Now we can.
Well, hello, Mayor, and thank you for taking my call. I'm the president of Paveway Block Club, and we're calling again about that old Chrysler plant on Plymouth. Can you please tell us what's going on with it? The grass is not being cut. It just seems to be stagnating and getting worse and worse.
Okay, we'll start with this, is the city owns it, so we're going to, the grass isn't cut, there's no excuse for that. So we will get that taken care of right away. Second, I am that close to an agreement to get that sold to somebody who will take it down and redevelop that property with a major employer that will get you jobs. I'm very excited about it. Very close to a final agreement. I've spent a lot of time on it myself. I'm going to get it done, but there's no excuse for us in maintaining the property. So can we make sure Brad knows and get somebody out there tomorrow? Oh, Jamal's there. So Jamal, get somebody out there tomorrow. Let's clean that site up. They're talking about the old AMC headquarters on Plymouth, east of Southfield. All right, we'll get on it, and give me maybe another month or two, and we're going to have a big announcement.
Cynthia, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Janice H. Janice H., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to find out a little bit more about what Gary Brown, Department of Water and Sewage, just talked about for the aviation subdivision. I was looking at the website because my house has been flooded several times. I was sewage backups. Most recently, last year it happened twice, and those are Category 3 biohazards. $10,000 last year, $10,000 in 2017. And unfortunately, one of the backups, my insurance company would not cover. So, I mean, nearly $25,000 just in remediation within 4 years has broken me. So I desperately want to know more about those programs for the service line, and to find out how I can find out.
Okay, so it sounds like
Heard something
you've
about-
had a plumber out several times. They put a camera in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know that your line is severed at some point. But you just need help getting it repaired.
That's correct.
Okay, so they're going to move you over into the waiting room and take your information, and someone from my office is going to give you a call. We are starting a list of people that just like yourself, and I'm reasonably assured that very soon the dollars are going to be at Wayne Metro to make this happen. So just make sure we have your information, and you'll get a call tomorrow, and we'll get to the bottom of your situation.
All right, thank you.
All right, who's next?
Janice, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is M. Washington. M. Washington, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, this is Mamie Washington,
Good evening.
and a complaint because I have been calling ever since 2019 about the two houses on Wickham Street at 8824 and 8832. Come to find out, they are owned by someone else and it's not the city. The houses are falling down, and we need them cleaned up in our neighborhood. Nobody want to live in a neighborhood like this. Now they start to dump stuff in the front of these two houses. So I just need somebody to take care of something. Since 2019, I've talked to you, Mayor. I've talked to Mona Ali today. I've talked to several people, but no one is doing anything, and I've been calling since 2019.
Seconds.
So I tried to do something, and unfortunately, we lost a year before Proposal N got placed on the ballot last November. But when it finally got on the ballot, the people of Detroit voted more than 70% to move forward on demolitions. And so we've got 8,000 in the queue. We are now at this point probably doing 80 or 100 a month. And we are starting, it's more complicated to demolish privately owned property. Mona, are you familiar with this property? Okay. So we will start by having our building safety department come out tomorrow and write tickets. If we've got an absentee owner, that may not be effective. Then we go to a next step, which is if the house isn't salvageable, we can move to city council for an emergency demolition order. But it is tough to deal with these abandoned houses that are still in private ownership. But Mona's got the information over to Dave Bell. They'll be out tomorrow to look at it, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Washington, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Harold P. Harold P., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, how you doing?
Good evening.
I was calling, my name is Wanda Dobson. I was calling, I want to say first give thanks.
Okay, we lost you there. Do we have a technical solution here?
You still hear me?
Okay, you're back. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can, and you sounded like you were saying something good, so I want to hear you loud and clear.
They tell me it froze up. Okay, I want to thank him for giving me a sign for my neighborhood to put a dumpy, but you know it's a dumpy. But I've been writing these guys for the last year regarding a tree that.
It sounds like we've got an issue with a tree. Can we take this caller over into the information room and get the information? Let's see if we can't follow up.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room.
I can't enjoy my porch in my backyard due to this tree. So I'm trying to see how. They're about to transfer. Did they hear? Can you hear me?
Off and on. We're gonna bring you over to the information room and get the information on the tree, and we'll see what we can do about it.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
Thank you. Did we have two callers there? What was happening on that? I'm sorry, we had a technical problem. But we're gonna get on the tree.
Next caller we have is Lorraine H. Lorraine H., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, this is Arthur Ed, President of Far West.
All right, well, you've already been introduced, Arthur.
All right, well, I just want to make some statements. As Mr. Brown said, that
I don't know what do they do after that.
1,200 properties over here, owners, homeowners, that this project's going to affect. In the past, the Far West Detroit Civic Association has had numerous properties started and were not completed. The tunnel that went over budget.
That sucked.
They started the bioswale on Tireman that was not complete, the project on Constance. They are doing our water mains over here now. They're doing a great job, it looks like so far. So I hope this major project.
Yeah, that's why I try to cut it off.
So what do we got going on here?
Hello. Good evening, Mayor.
Okay, do we have somebody here who can solve the technical problem?
Hello.
Am I still aboard or did
Somebody
anybody
else is
get what I
having
said?
an issue. Somebody else is having an issue technically.
This is for
John, who's our IT person? Okay.
Lorraine H.
Apparently, we
yourself.
unmuted a whole bunch of people at once. Hopefully, we're going to fix that. I'd hate to pick up your private conversations over the air.
okay. There you go.
Can you hear me now, Arthur Ed?
We can hear you. We're hearing a few more, but go ahead.
All right, let me start over again.
I think we got the gist of it. We're getting up to the end. So you were saying
Okay,
you were
well,
hoping Gary doesn't mess up this one.
Not say mess up, that it goes well.
Okay.
1,200 homes that he spoke of earlier, they will be calling me. And because of the other projects that did not go well, they're hoping that this does too, because it's affecting everybody that lives in Far West Detroit Civic Association.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that everything goes well, sir.
Yeah, he's well aware of the pressure he's under, and he seems confident. I assume the community had good input on this design.
Yes, we were very involved in it. I am also vice president of Friends of East Park. So we had a issue going with what we exactly wanted, but we ironed that out with DWSD, and everybody's happy right now. They just hope that this project goes well and we don't have any hiccups like we did with previous projects, because the community said they're tired of being guinea pigs for these major projects at DWSD.
Okay, so Gary's promised he won't mess this one up. All right, who's
thank you,
next?
sir.
Next caller we have is Gwen R. Gwen R., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor. Can you hear me?
I can. I hear you just fine.
How you doing tonight? We're from New Kids on the Block over on 31st Street.
Okay.
We appreciate allow us to get into the meeting because we were been kicked out of the meeting so many times last time. We couldn't get any questions in. So we appreciate the opportunity tonight. We also want to send a shout out to Eastern Forest, who's doing a great job over here in District 6.
So you're at 31st Street and what?
Yeah, our concern is the land bank. Many occasions we've been calling, especially over the last month, we've been trying to buy a property on the corner here at 4900 31st Street. And we were allowed to purchase it for $250. And then all of a sudden we had to get a PER. So we did that and sent the paperwork back in, but still we haven't heard nothing. They took the money out. We've called
15 seconds.
several times. We've
15
left
seconds.
several messages.
So what do you
and
want to use the property for?
we're going to use it for our urban gardens that we're going to continue to extend on other properties.
Okay, so you want a corner property for a garden. Saskia, are you familiar
you
with
had
this?
been. I said you had been here like 2 times, and you told my wife Gwen, she allowed me to talk because I'm a little quicker than she is. That be taken care of, but it seems like it's always just
Okay.
a roadblock with anything done lately.
Okay, so Saskia, are we aware of this 31st and what was the corner?
Horatio.
31st and Horatio. So it sounds like you'd
Right.
like to buy the corner property to put a garden on.
Right.
Would you please call this gentleman back tomorrow and get him an answer on,
Yeah, I appreciate that because nobody's called us back.
so just
Nobody's
please
answered
call
any
him back
questions.
tomorrow and talk to him. All right, you're going to get a call tomorrow to answer the question. And if you're not satisfied, call Eva and I'll deal with it myself. All right?
Caller, you'll be moved over to information room. Next caller we have is Sally P. Sally P., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor Duggan.
Good evening.
Nice to see you. You remember me, I'm the president of Friends of Rouge Park, and Rouge Park, of course, is our district's biggest asset.
Right.
And really excited to start this year with more new amenities than I have seen since we started our organization in 2002 with new playgrounds and picnic shelters and tennis courts and a splash pad. And then we're also really excited to have new programming. I learned today that the 500 free swim lessons
Right.
filled up in 4 hours.
Isn't that
They
great?
filled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question to you is, what are you going to be doing to make sure that the park is maintained? Because we had to fight just to get the garbage picked up and the grass cut last year. And COVID really highlighted the importance of our parks, and people were using them like crazy. And then secondly,
15
we're a bit concerned about all the planned programming for the Brennan Pools area with all the illegal activity and really fast cars that tends to go on there. And how can we make sure that that's
Time.
family friendly and people feel comfortable?
Yeah, so Brad isn't here today, but I know they're going to be focused. Last summer, in the middle of COVID, it was tough to get people to come in. Hopefully we will do a better job of filling our positions this summer on the park maintenance, because I know they want to. It's just a function of having enough people filling the positions. As far as getting the speeding and the drifting to stop, First Assistant Chief Basin, newly promoted, is here, and he'll get a chance to answer his first question from his new position.
All right.
Hello. So drifting drag racing, that's one of our top priorities. And with speaking with the park, specifically, some of our precincts, they've actually started their own park detail. We have a citywide park detail. So the precinct, Brennan Park, I believe that is in the 6th precinct or 8th precinct. So one of the things that I will do is get with the commander of either the 6th or 8th precinct, depending on which precinct that falls in, and ensure that they establish a precinct park detail for you, and then also get that to citywide. We did that over in the 5th precinct, and that has been very, very effective. I was getting a lot of calls. I was getting calls from Council President Brenda Jones and a lot of others that live over there, but my phone has not been ringing since. And as far as our drag racing drifting detail, since we've established that, I've been getting positive feedback that citizens have said that it has started to alleviate. And just to give you a couple stats, because this question comes up every time, just over the past couple days, we have taken quite a few vehicles off the street, and Just to give you some numbers, we've made 133 traffic stops, and over the past couple days, which would include this past Saturday and Sunday, we actually forfeited 11 of those vehicles, recovered one stolen vehicle, and impounded 11 vehicles. And this right here will probably get you excited because I know the brand of cars typically that you're talking about. So we forfeited a Dodge Charger. We got one of the Dodge Rams. They got the Hemi engines in them also. Ford Mustang, another Ford Mustang, another Dodge Charger. We got a Cadillac Escalade, a Yukon, and it goes on and on. So we're getting the message out, and we will continue that, and we will give your area some special attention as well. Thank you.
So before we go to the next call, and this is something I probably should have talked about earlier, but Assistant Chief Bedison just reminded me. Next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I'm going to do a citywide session like this. And as you probably know, I went to Washington, D.C., lobbied for the passage of the American Rescue Plan, and the city of Detroit is going to have $800 million coming. The first $400 million should be coming in this week. And we're going to have to make a decision on how to spend that money. And one of the things that I want to see us spend the money on is significantly upgraded enforcement of the speeding and the drifting in the city, with more traffic enforcement officers on the street and the like. But also we're going to be talking about putting money into training and intergenerational poverty prevention programs, into neighborhood improvement programs, into rec centers and park improvements and cultural centers, into reducing the digital divide, into small business assistance. And we are going to talk about how much this community thinks we ought to be investing in each of these programs. It's going to be an enormous amount of work for City Council, but if they can act by the end of June, we could be starting to put this money into the community by July. And so next Tuesday, we're going to kick off the first discussion. We're going to move to 25 community meetings in 25 days. And to the last caller, it'll be important for you to participate and say the commitment to the police department to deal with the speeding is a high priority. And no matter what your passion is, it's going to be an opportunity for you to have your voice heard. And I'm really hopeful that by July, we can start putting this federal money into the very real needs of the city. Go ahead.
Next caller we have is Brenda B. Brenda B., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My question is for Bedison, Chief Bedison. Regarding window tint, dark tint in automobiles. I need to know what the policy is when you purchase these cars from used car lots and they are tinted and then you are given a ticket. So what is the policy on window tint in automobile?
Yep, so with the limo tint, the super dark tint, it cannot be on the front windows of the car. It can be on the rear windows, but the driver window that's closest to you, and then the other window as well. And when you purchase it, you should ask the dealer, is it compliant? And one of the things that you can do is you can definitely Google it as well, and it will tell you the tint. But those front two windows, you have to be able to see through it, and it's for an officer safety aspect, which a lot of citizens don't know, so that when folks approach you, they can actually see who's inside of the vehicle. But that is an excellent question right there. So
if you get a ticket, then what do you do?
If you get a ticket, what you can do is if you have the tint addressed, then you can petition that to the court, and that ticket can be taken off, or it could be remedied. You can bring it to a police station if you correct it within a certain period of time, and then we can have that ticket pulled.
Thank you so very much.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
That's a great question. There's a very specific law as far as how dark that tint can be, and it will be enforced.
Next caller we have is Barb M. Barb M., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Barb, are you with us?
Next caller we have is R. Stewart. R. Stewart, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Rochella Stewart, and I'm calling about getting some grant money in this District 7 for us long-time residents that have sat here and fought through good and bad times to get some home repairs done. It's a lot of us out here, and we just don't have the money to be able to fix these homes up. Even with the loans that you have down at the city, they can't even afford to pay the loan back. So I'm wondering when you're going to put some money into this District 7 all over the city
Yeah,
for
so,
people to be able to get some of these home repairs done. And that racing and drifting on Livernois and Grand River, I don't know why Ken don't know what's going on. Everybody in the neighborhood can hear it damn near every night, every night almost. And it's a disgrace that we have to sit here and listen. I stay right off of Livernois and Grand River. And at least 4 to 5 nights a week, it's just racing, it's speeding, it's just, I'm too old to get up there and go on
15
Livernois
seconds.
and take the stuff, but it's
15
ridiculous.
So I agree with you completely. And so here's what we want to do. The Detroit Police Department has taken a significant step in the right direction. And I talk to mayors around the country. This is happening in every major city in the country because police departments have made a decision not to engage in a high-speed chase over a traffic offense. You put the lives of the public at risk. And so these individuals have realized that they can go do a donut in front of a cop and speed off and get away with it. What the police department has done this year, I think, is exactly the right strategy. There are helicopters in the air at all times. And when it happens, we have the helicopter track the vehicle till it stops, and then the police go and seize the vehicles. And they've seized dozens and dozens of these vehicles. Assistant Chief Bedison just read off several of them before. I want us to have additional traffic enforcement cars on the street. I want us to have an additional helicopter in the sky. It's the only way to deal with this. And so, as I indicated, we'll have a proposal next week to use the federal money to enhance that. This year, as far as minor home repairs, there's about $5 or $6 million that City Council appropriated for people who are in extreme poverty, who can't fix up their house. And again, I would encourage you to participate in the conversation next week about how we spend the American Rescue Plan money, because there's an opportunity to put more money into minor home repair to help folks who otherwise can't do it. So I hope you'll take the time to come on and advocate for that, because I would like to see us put more money into that priority.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Charlay. Charlay, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, how are y'all?
Good evening.
I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of turn. I didn't know what district I'm in, but my mother's been trying to buy a lot at 5132 Webb Street, but they're only listing 5130 for sale on the land bank. And we own 5134 Webb Street.
So you're saying 5132 is next to your house?
Yes,
And it's owned by the land bank?
yes.
Do we have a quick way of checking this? It's on Webb? There's no reason
Yes.
the Webb properties would be held up, is there? Okay, so
They've offered the lot behind us, but they have not given us the option to buy the one right next to it.
So the question that we have to look at is there a title problem with the property? Because we have a lot of properties in the city that have unclear title histories, and we can't sell you land with a bad title. But if you leave us your name and number in the information room, we will call you tomorrow. But I cannot think of any reason, if there's not a title issue. We've sold 18,000 side lots in this city. And so we don't have that many are held up on these kinds of problems. unless there is a genuine issue, but we're going to dig into it, and we're going to find out and get you an answer tomorrow.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Gary F. Gary F., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Yes.
Good evening. You with us? Gary?
Caller, you may unmute yourself.
Mayor, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I live on Asbury Park in Warrendale,
Okay?
and everybody on Asbury Park loves the beautiful job you did in rebuilding our street last year, and it's just gorgeous. It improved the neighborhood 10,000%.
Okay, well,
Now,
Ron
my
Dutch is
problem
going to be
is-
glad to hear that. Keep going. Anything else we did well?
Well, here's our problem.
Okay, I had a feeling.
Is Gardner School is 3 blocks down Whitlock from me, and they're passing out food to poor people or people that can't afford it. They're passing out. What the problem is people are dumping boxes and boxes and boxes of milk and yogurt up and down the streets of Paul and Whitlock. Up and down Whitlock at different places, they're dumping cases of milk
15
and
seconds.
cases of yogurt. Up and down Paul Street from between Greenfield and
I'm hearing you.
South
Mona, are you aware of this? Okay, so we're going to jump on this tomorrow between our neighborhood police officers and our general services department. Are the Detroit Public Schools running this, or the city? Do you know who's
Well,
running the
talked
giveaway?
I talked to the principal at the school, and she's claiming that it's not her product. But it has to do, she's trying to say that's people who's picking up food and just going down the street and then throwing it away. I can't believe that, because this is trucks fulls of, this
Okay.
is 6 boxes, this is 8 boxes.
I believe you.
Nobody's walking away with that much food and then just dumping it 4 blocks away.
I believe you. So
we got to get to the bottom.
okay, so we're going to call you tomorrow, and we're going to have the neighborhood police officers and your district manager come out, and we are going to figure out who's doing it, and we're going to deal with it. All right, but thank you for letting us know. We'll be on top of it tomorrow.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is number ending in 804. Number ending in 804. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
This is Betty from DeSoto Ellsworth Black Association, and I want to thank you for all the good work that you're doing in the neighborhood. I also want to thank you for keeping your word, and we receive a date that you are going to come to our neighborhood and
Right.
talk to the residents and DEBA members in regards to our wish list on what we want for our community.
Good. Well,
And-
I love it. I get to do those again now. They're lifting the COVID restrictions, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, we appreciate you. And I want to bring up again the problem that we have at 15101 Livernois. It's a vacant building that has been vacant for years that we have been complaining about, where there is no maintenance being done to keep it clean. And Mona is aware of it. I
15
thank
seconds.
Mona for working with me in regards to this problem. Also, I want to thank Mona and Ray Solomon for helping us get the meeting that the date to meet with you.
Time.
They really
Okay.
have been working with our.
Well, that's good, but I want to talk about the property. Mona, are we up on this Livernois building and what's going on? Okay, so we've been writing him tickets, which he is not paying. And so Lawrence Garcia is here, who is one of the world's great litigators. So Lawrence, will you sue this guy and take the property? Come on.
Good evening. Thanks for the question and for bringing the matter to our attention. the city has a number of properties at which there's repeated offenses or violations of code. And what we do is we compile a dossier or a record of repeat offenses and try to get all our ducks in a row. And then we have the really good, strong case put together. Then we can file a case in court, and sometimes we can get the judge to agree with us that the property is being used in a way that's a nuisance generally to the whole public. It poses a risk to the whole public. And in those cases, the judge will get us some relief. So what we'll do is, after I step away, they'll put you in the information room and we'll get some information. And then my office can work with you to compile that record so that when we go to court, we don't lose. Because it's pretty hard to prove these cases, and we want to make sure that we're ready when we start them. But it's a serious issue, and we'll get on it.
That was a
Thank
long
you.
way of saying Lawrence is excited to take your case. So we'll get on it right away, because I can see Mona's very aggravated over this. And so there's a point at which you keep writing the tickets and they ignore them that we have to take action. So we're going to jump on this tomorrow. Thank you.
Next caller we have is Tracy M. Tracy M., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call.
Good evening.
I'm a lifelong Detroiter. We've owned our house for 16 years. We bought it when the market was high and the bottom fell out, and we just got above water.
Good.
But we don't qualify for the low-income homes to do home repairs and to improve our property. And I'm asking that you give some type of relief to lifelong Detroiters who've been here, who pay the high property tax, who pay the sky-high insurance bill. You don't want my insurance bill. But we stayed, we're here, we're committed, and we want to do home repairs.
So I'm just going to be honest with you on what we can do and what we can't do. So the home repair programs are largely governed by HUD, the federal rules on income standards. So if your income level is above that, I don't want to hold out any hope that we are going to be able to give you money for it. At this point, we got a whole long list of people of very low income who are on a wait list that I'm trying to get to. On the car insurance, on the other hand, I might be able to help you. Do you have a job with health care?
Yes,
So where do you work?
I work for the Detroit Public Library.
Oh, well, heck, why are you paying? Have you opted out of your
Yes.
So how much?
Still paying through the roof.
How much did it come down?
How much did ours come down? My husband's giving me a look. Not a lot.
Really? Then something's wrong. So why don't you give us your information? Because if you've got that kind of insurance, you should have seen $1,000 drop in your bill.
No, I have not seen the $1,000.
So we need to make sure.
We're still paying over $400 a month.
Yeah, that shouldn't be. Not for one car.
Not for one car. It's multiple cars.
Oh.
But I mean, it's still like when you add that plus what we pay for the homeowner's insurance.
No, I understand. But
it's just frustrating. And it's not like I want free money, but I don't even qualify for the 0% loan.
Yeah. And so I do, though, if you give us your information, I'm going to get somebody to call you tomorrow, and I want to make sure you're doing everything you can on the car insurance, because that may be the best way for us to help you.
I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room.
Yeah, if they're public libraries, they're city employees, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Hakeem, you could help tomorrow, and let's see if we can't do that. That should be a big reduction in her car insurance. Okay.
Next caller we have is number ending in 582. Number ending in 582. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening.
Good
Can
evening.
you hear me?
I can.
Thank you. My name is Pat Reed from the West Outer Drive Civic Association. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to commend you on this fabulous job that you've done for the city of Detroit. It has just been unreal. And just thank you so much for caring. And also Commander Betterson and everyone else is there. But the question that I have is, and I'm listening to the meeting, and you did touch on it a little bit. I live on West Parkway. We don't have the drag racing. What we have is constant speeders.
Yes.
We're near a school.
No question
we
about
have
it.
senior citizens. It's just totally out of control. They don't stop at the stop signs. They're going, they don't stop at the streets. Near the park, I can't think of the name of the park down there. It's on Chicago and West Parkway. There are speed humps down there, and I'm a walker with my dog, and the cars do slow down now to go over their speed humps. And I just would like to know the process of getting speed humps
Is Ron here?
from Plymouth
Okay,
to Joy Road, because I did fill out that form. Several neighbors on my street have done so also, and we haven't heard anything.
Okay, so let us get you an answer tomorrow as to whether that street is eligible. There are a number of high-traffic streets that aren't eligible for the speed hump, so we need to find out the answer to that. Second, though, I agree with you. The basic speeding in this city, people ignoring red lights, people ignoring stop signs, I am really focused on putting a lot more traffic enforcement officers on the road, and it's something we want to talk about next week with the American Rescue Plan money, because we don't have enough officers. I see people in front of me just go right through a red light like it doesn't matter because they don't think anybody's going to catch them. We've got to change that, and that means we need more officers in patrol cars on the streets. And I know Assistant Chief White, he will be Chief White, and Assistant Chief Bedison, Assistant Chief LaValle are working on that plan right now.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Wanda D. Wanda D, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hi, Mayor. How you doing?
Good evening.
I'm sorry for the difficulty we had, technical difficulty. I want to first give kudos and a 5-star to Kim Tangi. She came and brought me a no dumpster sign for the block next behind me. But I'm calling about a tree. I've been writing letters to her, texting her, and also been writing letters to the city for the last 2 years for a tree that's been a pollen tree that's been making me sick, and I just spent too much money.
So tell me about the tree. Is the tree between the sidewalk and the street? Did I lose you? What happened? You still there?
Hear me?
Okay, you're back. So tell me about the tree. Where's the tree located?
The tree is located on almost half by my house.
But is it between the sidewalk and the street?
Yes.
Okay, and so is it? And so is your issue that it's breaking up the sidewalk or that it's dead?
No, they already repaired that. The issue is that it's kicking off a pollen and it's making me sick. It had affected my daddy's, but he's deceased now. He couldn't sit on his porch. I'm having a hard time sitting enjoying my front porch and my backyard. And I just had my porch extended, my backyard beautified. And I want to be able to enjoy my house without this pollen tree here.
Okay, so let's take a look tomorrow and see if there's something unusual about this tree. Because
what I'm hearing from your office is that it's a healthy tree. But it may be a healthy tree, but it's making me sick.
How long's the tree been there?
Oh, it's been here for years.
Okay.
I don't know. I have been traveling in and out of the country from Afghanistan. So when I come back home, I'm 63 years old. When I come back home, it's really affecting me. It used to affect my dad. But now that I have my porch extended, it's affecting me.
Okay. So I don't know if we're going to have a solution on this one, but we will come out tomorrow and see what there is. Are you sure your allergy is to what the tree is putting out? All right, well, let's get out tomorrow and look. I'm not sure what the solution is here, but let's see if we can, let's see if we can find a way to help.
Wanda, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Jeffrey K. Jeffrey, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor. How are you?
Good evening. Good.
So I'm calling in regards to 4034 Burlingame Street.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for taking the time right now because I've emailed every email address that is listed with the city of Detroit and have not gotten one response.
What's your question?
The question is this is a Detroit land bank home that
Okay.
is occupied by a person that has also taken over 10 lots on Webb Street, 1 lot on Homer, and 5 lots on Burlingame.
Okay.
So me and the neighbors have come together and we decided to start purchasing the lots on Burlingame. We have our PREs. We applied for it. We were eligible, approved by the land bank.
15
The
seconds.
holdup is Ms.
15
Mona Ali will not give us an endorsement.
So hang on, let me see if I can follow this. Is the lot next to your house?
No, it's a neighborhood lot.
Okay, so it's not next to your house. Where is it from your house?
It's like 2 lots over.
On
And
this,
it's-
on this,
and it's
hey,
also
stay with
across
me.
the street
On the
from
same
my
side
other
of the street or across the street?
So it's on the same side of the street as one of my houses, and it's across the street from one of my other houses.
Well, how about the house you live in?
That is within the 500 feet.
No, my question is it across the street from the house you live in?
No, it's down the street.
It's down the street from the house you live in. Is
Yes, sir.
the lot next to somebody who lives there?
No,
It's not.
it is a vacant lot in between lots.
Okay, so we'll look at it, but I got to tell you, I really don't want any part of these neighborhood disputes. And this is why the side lot program works so beautifully. We sold 18,000 of them to people who live next door. But this whole neighborhood lot thing, when you buy another lot somewhere next block, down the block, et cetera, if there's disagreement from the neighbors, we're not going to sell it. We're not choosing sides between
No, I totally understand
disputing
that, but
neighbors.
I would also like the city to come out and take a look at this person has blighted. He blocked the alley from being cleaned. He has a container sitting in the alley. 2 cars that have been abandoned in the alley.
We'll come out and take a look. I really don't want to be in the middle of a neighbor dispute. So we'll get somebody out, take a look. If the neighbor is in violation of the code, we'll have them fix it or we'll ticket it. We'll deal with that tomorrow. But I have to tell you, you sound like, and maybe I'm wrong, but you sound like what I've seen in different neighborhoods where 2 neighbors or 2 groups of neighbors are fighting with each other. And when that happens, I get out of the whole who I'm going to sell the lot to. If you guys are fighting with each other, we're not going to sell the lot to anybody. And it sounds like that may be the situation we have here. Is it possible that you and your neighbor could sit down and work something out? Did we mute him? Okay. All right. Well, Mona, see if we can get the neighbors to get along. All right. And in the meantime, let's go out, and if the individual is not properly maintaining their property, let's make sure that that's dealt with tomorrow. So, Dave, can we jump on that? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Who's next?
Next caller we have is Paula T. Paula T., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor. This is Paula Triletti from West Outer Drive Civic Association, and I am also the membership chairperson for Friends of Rouge Park.
Okay.
I'd like to begin by thanking you for all of the attention you are giving to the parks in Detroit, all across the city. But as a member of Friends of Rouge Park, the largest park in Detroit, there have been improvements. But one problem, and I think Sally was trying to make this point, I don't think she made the point. At the Brennan Pools parking lot, most evenings, there are lots of people engaged in drinking, smoking pot, carrying on, and those aren't the kind of people we want just hanging out.
Todd,
in
can we
Rouge
get
Park.
our neighborhood police officers to deal with this? I'm going to let AC Bedison talk with that because that's what the neighborhood police officers are for. So let's see what we do here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the commander, the neighborhood police officers, myself is on my radar now, and you can expect some relief. Starting, matter of fact, Commander Hope's in the room. Let's send somebody over there tonight and check this park out, and I'll get a report back, and I'll report to the mayor as well. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thanks, Commander Bettis.
Okay, if they're out there right now, they're about to get a visit, so we'll see how it goes.
Paula, you'll be moved over to the
Okay.
information room. Next caller we have is Colexium. Colexium, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. How are you tonight?
Awesome. Good evening. Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having this forum. Colexium is a medical marijuana business in the District 7 community,
Okay.
and we are very excited to be here. We both are legacy Detroiters, but we also have a nonprofit in the District 7 community where we have community gardens, some workforce development programs, some after-school programs, and just a lot of great things for our neighbors. We just ask that you consider the local nonprofits when distributing that American Rescue Fund money. The local nonprofits of the city of Detroit, the people that are really in the community, we would really enjoy some of those funds. You actually were in our community this Saturday.
Out on the
neighborhood
church.
block community of-
Yeah, I met you on the church
Right.
lawn. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just asking you to remember us when you get that money from DC.
No, you were pretty memorable, and you made a clear request. And what you're talking about, I hope you'll join the conversation next Tuesday, because I think neighborhood nonprofits absolutely could be a legitimate use of the American Rescue Plan money. And I'm going to talk about ways in which they could participate in job training programs, could participate in neighborhood redevelopment programs, and the like. And so I'd encourage you to come on and advocate for what you think our priorities should be. And I having already met you and had a follow-up call, I have no doubt you're going to advocate effectively.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Caller, you'll be moved over to the information room.
There's not too many times when the local marijuana shop is embraced by the neighborhood group at their block club meeting. It's a pretty unique relationship they got.
Next caller with the number ending in 804. 804, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hi, this is Miss Varner, and I've already spoke. Thank you.
Okay.
Next caller we have is Marilyn W.
Okay.
Marilyn W., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Did you want to talk again, Marilyn?
Yeah, no, I just want to make amends. I always fail to give a shout out to Mona Ali, but thank you for what happened last weekend, but special thanks to Mona. Mona is a doll, so Mr. Solomon, you're great too, but don't do anything to mess that up.
Did she text you and ask you to call back?
Also, I want to give a special shout out to the City Council District 7 staff, who's still doing an awesome job in spite of all that has happened. I'm grateful for them, and I think most of us on this end of District 7 are grateful for what they're still doing to make things happen in District 7.
Yeah.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
They're working hard, and I think you're going to have a council member appointed by City Council in the near future. All right, who's next?
Next caller we have is the number ending in 812. 812, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
This is Glenda McGatney, District 7, Block Club President, Buena Vista. Quick question, would it take a state law for the cameras that are on these poles on Dexter and the Boulevard and Livernois, where people are speeding, driving around, the light is red and they're going around 4 or 5 cars in Washington, D.C. and in Maryland, people get tickets in the mail. How can we get something like that here in Michigan?
Yeah, that would take a change in state law. The state of Michigan does not allow you, as they do in Illinois, to ticket people based off of a camera and a red light. So you'd have to take that up with your state legislature.
Well,
So that's probably Representative Cynthia Johnson over there, I think. So talking to Representative Johnson probably be a good start.
Next caller we have is LaDonna H. LaDonna H., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. My question to you is that I'm trying to obtain a property that's owned by the land bank. And the property is at 19237 Van Dyke in Detroit, Michigan. I'm a longtime city resident. And I was trying to obtain this property, but I sent emails to the land bank, and they're stating that this property is set up to be demolished.
Okay.
But my question is that if it's set up to be demolished, then why are they paying property taxes on it?
Okay, who's paying property taxes?
Well, I guess the land bank, that's the name that's on there for the taxes
Oh,
for the
okay,
county.
yeah, no, they aren't paying property taxes. They may be the owner of the property.
Okay.
But if it's being demolished, it must be in bad shape because we are salvaging anything that is in good shape. What is it you want to do with the property?
Well, my daughters want to open up like a bakery or something.
Okay.
We were interested in that property because it's not too far from our home.
Okay, and so I just want to play this out for a second. So if the land bank sold you the property, do you think you'd renovate the building that was there, or you would build a new building?
Well, I wanted to renovate the building with it that's there if it's not too bad to be renovated.
Okay, so I tell you what, we'll get somebody to call you tomorrow and take you through it. And once in a while they make a mistake, but by and large, when the land bank says something's demolished, it's in pretty bad shape. But they aren't perfect, so we'll get you the opportunity to come through it. So if you leave us your information, Saskia Thompson will get somebody to call you tomorrow, get you and your daughter to go through it, and then let's go from there. But if you're going to fix it instead of us not spending $15,000 to knock it down, that's better. I just don't want to saddle you with something that keeps your family from getting their business open.
LaDonna, you'll be moved over to the information room. Next caller we have is Barb M. Barb M., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Yay, am I finally here?
Boy, Barb, I thought you were more technically skilled than that.
No, I was the bizarrest thing. All of a sudden, my computer shut down. I was like, no. Anyway, good evening, Mayor.
How are you?
I want to ditto the last caller on there that made a comment about Mona Ali. I'm going to tell you right now, bar none, she is amazing. I mean, I've seen her in action dealing with other people in the community. I just love her to death. She is always there with any questions or concerns. And the other comment that was made about Council District 7 and the staff, they are out there working really hard. And I don't know what we would do without Miss LaDonna Davis on that staff. She's amazing. But I do have a comment about the milk. I heard the caller on there talk about the milk being dropped. We do have a couple organizations here in Warrendale that have recently started food distribution, and I do believe that this is where these little cartons of milk are coming from. I have already reached out to our neighborhood police officers to try to have this investigated. So we're doing what we can on this end too, because that milk's being found in Warrendale.
Well, it sounds like the whole police department is now focused on those milk cartons. So we're gonna figure out where they came from.
And I'm looking forward to see what this plan is next week. We don't have a rec center over this way towards Warrendale. That would be awesome. And I'm very excited to see more police officers on staff. Love to see them rolling in the street.
Barbara, I got a feeling you'll be advocating for spending on a lot of different fronts. And so I hope you'll participate in this, because this is going to be a great conversation. We're going to get a chance to talk about if you have $400 million to invest in this city in the next 3 years. How would you do it to make the city better for the next 10 or 20 years? That's the conversation we're going to have as a community, and ultimately, City Council will adopt a budget. But we want everybody to express their vision, and some things are allowed by the federal rules and some things aren't. But we'll take people through what the rules are and really see if we can't get a community budget.
Thank you.
All right, the last caller we have for tonight is caller with the number ending in 343. 343, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor. I'd just like to add a question in regards to the speeding down the street. Does that include loud music at night and firecrackers that are being shot off?
So I would say those would be high priorities for your neighborhood police officer. And so do you know who your neighborhood police officer is?
Yes, I do, but this noise occurs after 9 o'clock at night.
No, I understand, but if it's the same kind of thing on a regular basis, we should have a strategy. So is this a once in a while thing, or is this pretty regular?
No, this is every night.
Okay. So why don't you call your neighborhood police officer tomorrow, and we'll start with that. And if that doesn't work, call your district manager, who will call the commander. But these are the kinds of things we need to pay attention to. They aren't necessarily something you'd call 911 for, but they are the kind of thing that we can have focused attention on. All right. So let's see if the neighborhood police officer's responsibility doesn't stop when they go off shift. They're responsible for dealing with ongoing kind of quality of life nuisances, and it sounds like this would qualify.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. All right. So that's the last call of the evening, and so. Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, if you want to participate in how we're going to spend the next $400 million that President Biden has sent us, please join us. And we're going to have the same kind of conversation, maybe with some boards and some notes, and start that. Thank you very much.